A big part of being happy is moving like life is going to work out for you. Your energy shapes your reality, so walk tall and act as if victory is already yours. I recently saw this quote and it inspired today's episode. I don't think enough people realize how much your internal mindset truly shapes your reality. And by the way, that's basically what manifestation is. Welcome to Find Your Power podcast. I am your host, Avery Jane. And in today's episode, I'm going to break down the science as well as share my personal and unprofessional experiences and insights and reveal why pessimism is more dangerous than you think. I also want to give you guys some insight into ways that you can practice optimism in your life as well. But before we do start and dive into the good stuff of the episode, I want to suggest a few side notes. For one, I think it's pretty rare to find people that are 100% pessimistic in every outlook of their life, as well as it's hard to find someone that is 100% optimistic in every aspect of their life. And my goal for this episode is not to completely change your mindset to be 100% optimistic all of the time. Honestly, I don't think that's very realistic as well as very healthy either, honestly. And I want to just encourage you guys to try different strategies of looking at different things in your life. Whether you take into account my tips and tricks or not, or maybe this is just background noise for you, entertainment while you're going about your daily activities, whatever this is to you, I'm just here to talk, honestly. But I do want to maybe try to encourage you guys to see things from different perspectives than you're used to and maybe possibly in a more positive light for some of those things. The second thing I want to touch on before we really dive in is that for the sake of this episode, I am referring to pessimism as something that can be changed, maybe monitored without any type of medication or diagnosis. And that being said, if you are consistently feeling low or down in a more severe case, I want to advise you to seek help from a doctor and not just my advice for help on this one. So, with all of that being said, we can start out by defining pessimism. According to Psychology Today, pessimism is described as cynicism or negative thinking, and people with this type of outlook on life are described to see the glass as half empty and never having a silver lining. When we are optimistic, on the other hand, we see the bright side of things. And one definition I found says that optimism is a state where a person has a positive approach towards life, hoping for the best possible result of any given situation. I think that it is also important to note that there is a big difference between positive optimism and blind positivity. So, with blind positivity, you are seeing everything in life with that positive outlook to an unhealthy level. And that's another reason why in the beginning I mentioned that it could be unhealthy for people to have that 100% optimism or pessimism, as well as unrealistic a lot of times. But that type of optimism is not what we're looking for here. We are looking for more of a positive outlook on things that can benefit your life rather than just finding positivity in every single aspect of your life, because sometimes that can be damaging because we do have times when things are upsetting and there's not too much positive outlook on specific things sometimes, and we do just need to feel the sadness, feel the negativity of our emotions in certain times of our life. Therefore, it's not always the best idea to switch everything in your mind to be optimistic or positive. But I will say, when it comes to how this pessimistic outlook can can really affect different aspects of your life. There are a lot of aspects in our life that can be affected by this pessimistic outlook. Psychology Today also states that besides taking a toll on your mental health, your physical health may take a beating as well. And pessimism, while it may be useful in isolation or in moderation, it is associated with anxiety, depression, sleeping disorders, hostility, high blood pressure, and heart disease. So, I wasn't really exaggerating with this title of today's episode that pessimism could actually be killing you. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I just want to kind of open your eyes a little bit to help you understand that a lot of the things around you in life are really impacted by your mind. Your mind has such a big part and role in your success, in your activity, in your day to day life, as well as even in your health. And not just mental health, but physical health as well. So, if you find yourself going through these negative mental cycles of pessimism and thinking negatively on many aspects in your life, I want to encourage you to try to rewire how you're thinking on these aspects. And maybe there's just particular things in your life that you think negatively on. Maybe it's not most things, maybe it's just a few things. But these things that you have set, have your mind set on as negative, these things are what are holding you back from your success. And one of the biggest things, since this is Find Your Power podcast, and we talk about careers here, one of the biggest things is your career progress. Studies show that pessimists are less likely to take risks, which means fewer opportunities and slower career growth. If you're pessimistic about potentially up-leveling your career or going into the field of your dreams, you may be stuck in the same job that you don't like for a very long time. And having these negative outlooks might be keeping you from stepping out of your comfort zone in a lot of ways. Just because it feels safer doesn't mean it actually is safer. Your mind is going to trick you a lot of times by telling you that staying comfortable is staying safe. But honestly, if you really think deep about what you're doing with your life, and if staying in the same place for the next 5 to 10 years scares you, then it really isn't safer to keep doing what you're doing and letting your negative thoughts get to the best of you. It'll benefit you more in the long run to take that leap of faith, step out of your comfort zone, get a little uncomfy here, and actually think, what if it does work out? People use pessimism or negative thoughts as a shield to avoid disappointment, rejection, or failure. But at the end of the day, you might think these things are protecting you, but they're really keeping you from moving forward. Pessimism is keeping you from applying to jobs that you're not 100% qualified for, or even taking risks or trying new paths. And it's also keeping you from believing that you're capable of growth, because you are capable of growth. Everybody is. And whether that's career aspect or not, you can move forward and can take that risk. And the people that have that mindset that it might really work out for them, might really fall into place if they just keep going and keep that positive mindset and don't think about giving up and don't think about all the negative things that might keep them holding back. Those are the people that will be successful. Something else to really reflect on is that when you think these negative, pessimistic thoughts in your life, it's really narrowing your vision down and it makes you think that you have less options than you really do, less room for growth than you really do, less room for mistakes even than you really do. If you're thinking about going into something new, trying something new, maybe even trying for a promotion, trying for a job promotion, or trying for your dream career, whatever it may be. And if you're thinking the whole time, I don't know, what if I fail? What if I fail at this? What if I don't do well? I don't think it's going to work out for me. What if I fail? If that keeps repeating in your mind, it's really putting that direct target vision on failing. And that's the only option. But the truth is that the more times that you fail, the more comfortable it's going to get to fail, and the less scared you're going to be to take those risks. And the more risks that you take, the more that you're going to win. You're going to win at least once out of 1,000 times. You're going to. I saw this one girl on TikTok, and she was doing this challenge to see how many times she could fail. Or was it, no, to see how many times she could get rejected. I don't remember her name. If you know who I'm talking about, put it in the comments so then other people can look her up. But she was trying to fail or get rejected 1,000 times. So she was just doing most random things, applying to the most random things, and trying to get rejected. And I didn't really dive into her account to the point I didn't see why she started this journey in the first place. But I just watched a few of her videos, and I loved this concept because she had shown that she had gotten, like, she had ended up getting accepted to a lot of these different random things that she probably thought she was going to get rejected from. One of them was a dual citizenship to a random country. Maybe she had family over there, but I'm not really sure. As well as a passport from this other country. One of them was, I think she won some type of beauty pageant. So I'm just saying this because by her doing all of these random things, trying, instead of for the goal of getting accepted and success and winning, her goal was rejection and failure. And that just makes the game so different because in your head, if that's the goal, then you're not going to be upset if you fail. You're not going to be as upset, at least, and you're going to get comfortable with it. You're going to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. What most people are very uncomfortable with, you are going to be nonchalant about, maybe, or almost nonchalant about. And that's something very powerful. But I think I got a little sidetracked here. So, my point of this is that if you can try to rewire your thoughts as when you think, what if I fail? What if I don't succeed at something? Instead, try rewiring that thought into, what if I learn from this? What if I fail, but I learn something? There's always a but in there. There's always a this and. What if I fail and learn? If you keep these negative mindsets, it's true that pessimism doesn't just doubt your future, it really just decides it for you. There's another quote that I found that goes really well with this episode, and it says that the amount of good things in your life depends on your ability to notice them. I'm gonna repeat that one. The amount of good things in your life depends on your ability to notice them. I just want you guys to sit with that one for a minute. Whether you've heard that before or not, I think we can all use that. I think we can all hear that every once in a while, maybe more often than we think, because we I think sometimes we get so in our heads thinking that the world is out to get us and that there's so many things out there that are just terrible, and why is this happening? And it's just so common to complain now. Complaining is like a conversation starter, honestly. And I don't I don't like it. I really don't. I am not the type of person that likes to start a conversation by complaining, and when I do, it doesn't feel right. And I think it's because the thing about it is, though, if you're complaining about something, you're putting that out into the world, that negative energy towards that thing even more. If something is if something is bothering you, if something happened and it felt very negative, and you complain about it even more, it's going to show up more in your life negative most of the time. By speaking it negatively, it gives permission into your mind for it to feed and become more negative and become worse. I just I just think that we really need this reminder a lot of times that the things in your life are going to be good if you see them as good. If you really try and give this outlook on life as things are good, things are meant to work out for me, good things are coming my way, I am successful, I will be successful. All of these positive outlooks on life with these corny positive quotes that you may think, if you really resonate with them, you're going to start seeing them happen. And of course, the opposite applies. If you're constantly thinking that things don't work out for you and you are an unlucky person, guess what's going to happen? Those are the things that you're going to see. Instead of seeing the lucky thing that you got out of the day, if you think that you're an unlucky person, you're going to pick out the unlucky things that have happened to you. Whether it's the same amount of things that happen to the optimistic person or not. I think I'm really passionate about this one, if you guys couldn't tell. So, I do have a personal experience when it comes to pessimism, and I want to share that with you guys today. Of course, in my own life, I have had a lot of negative thoughts, just as everyone else, but I think I have also had a pretty good approach when it comes to rewiring those thoughts. Of course, we all kind of have those reoccurring thoughts, negative thoughts towards ourselves. Maybe we don't make it. What if this doesn't work out? All these kind of things. But I think a few years ago, I started to really notice those thoughts and try to check in on them, try to rewire them, and notice when I did think like that. But there is someone in my life that when I originally first met them, I saw that they had a negative view towards one aspect of their life. And this is something that I thought, okay, maybe just a part of their life that doesn't align with them. Maybe they found themselves in this setting that doesn't align with them, right? And I thought this way because this person would complain about this aspect of their life in particular quite often and wasn't very happy when it came to this aspect of their life. And then I got to know this person a little bit more, and I found there were more aspects of their life that they had this negativity in. And I started to realize that when you hold this pessimistic outlook so strongly, it really starts to feed into all aspects of your life. It may originate with just one part of your life in the beginning. Maybe that's your family, maybe that's your job, maybe that's your friends. Whatever it is, or even, I don't know, the city that you live in, something in your life that you really don't like, or you just have these negative thoughts towards, once you live with that for a while, if you don't take a minute to kind of rewire those thoughts and either or make a change so that you don't have to live with that negative thing that you dislike in your life, you can either make that change to not have that aspect in your life anymore, or if you can't control that, you can always control the way that you think about that thing. If you make the effort to rewire your thoughts, then you can really come out the other end positively. But if you don't make this effort, there's a good chance that this negativity is going to start to feed into other aspects of your life that you may not realize in the beginning until it really consumes you. And that's when it's not good. So, when it comes to optimism, I do want to touch on that a little bit because I think there's this false narrative, this idea that people think optimism is like being delusional. And I know there was like this trend going on TikTok, especially I think it started more a few years ago, and it's still kind of floating around out there that we should be delulu. You know, we should be delusional, be delulu about things in our life. And I think that to an extent it had a pretty good message. Some of the content made around it was not so good. I think it was being a little bit too optimistic, maybe having that blind positivity in some things, but there's other aspects when it could be really helpful, but I think it was worded wrong because being delusional is different from being optimistic. When you're when you're optimistic, you're not ignoring reality. If you have something negative in your life or something that's really not good for you, you're not going to just ignore that and push past it because everything's great and we're just going to be delusional and not notice it. It's less than that, and it's more if there's something in your life that you can't change and you have no control over, then it will benefit you more to take control over your mindset on that thing rather than trying to change it. Because, like I said, you can't change it. And of course, there are some things in our life that we can't change sometimes. And if you do have things in your life that you can change that are very negative, then I would say just make the effort to change them. You don't have to develop a positive outlook on it if it's not right for you. It's choosing belief over fear, is what optimism is. And I also want to stress that optimism is a skill that you build. It's not necessarily something that you're born with, which I think a lot of people think. And yes, it can be kind of considered a personality trait sometimes, but it's also something that you can build. If you find certain aspects of your life have a pessimistic outlook on, then you can always reframe those to have a better mindset and become more optimistic. And there you are changing your personality trait to an extent. I do want to give you guys a few tips or solutions, I guess you could call it, to kind of help you in reframing your mindset before we end the episode, because this could be very, very important. I think it's so easy to just say, "Oh yeah, change your mindset. Um, Rethink about this." But it does go deeper than that, and of course, it doesn't just happen overnight. It does take a lot of practice. So, some tips to overcome pessimistic thinking. You can, like I said, something that I do to this day, and I started doing this years ago. So, like I said, it's a consistent practice. I don't think you're ever going to be perfect at it, but something that you can do is to catch those negative thoughts while they're happening and just be aware of them. And once you catch them, you can realize, what am I thinking here and why am I thinking this way? And once you do that, you can try to rewire them and question the assumptions that you do have. If you assume that you are not going to be good at something that you try, question yourself on why do you think that you're not going to be good at that? Is it a narrative that somebody gave you when you were a kid? Did somebody tell you you weren't good at sports? Did someone tell you you weren't creative, you weren't good at drawing, you weren't good at singing? If this is something that somebody else told you when you were younger, and you developed that narrative, that doesn't have to be part of your identity. It can be, you can change that. Just because someone has told you that many times, it doesn't mean that it's true about you. You make your own identity. Anything that you want to be true and part of you, you can change that. If you want to do something new and you think that you are the type of person that won't be good at it, by noticing why you think that you will be bad at it, it's going to help you maybe actually be good at it. that may need to sit for a minute to make sense. When you are thinking of negative things, you don't have to flip it completely positive all the time. You can also just practice a neutral alternative. So if you're thinking that you can't do something, maybe instead of saying, "Oh yeah, I can totally do it," as an alternative, if that just doesn't feel right in the beginning, you can always just say, "Oh, maybe I could," instead of "I can't." Something more neutral may help you in. Sometimes it honestly is better to have a neutral alternative because some things aren't black or white. They're more in that gray area. And you might really not be sure. I want to stress that this is something that is going to take time to change. Like I said, the small mindset shifts is going to be what really helps you out, those small, consistent habits that you build. I think I stressed this a lot in many of my episodes, but consistency is really the key. And you're not going to see overnight change in your mindset, just like you're not going to see overnight change when you start learning something new, like a new language, and you learn it for one day and then you're going to be fluent the next day. That's not how it works. And that's the same thing with changing your mindset. It's going to take a lot of practice, a lot of consistency, but I'm telling you, it's going to be worth it. And the last thing is that I want to encourage you guys to just be patient with yourself. It's a long process, but if you have those negative thoughts and you make mistakes along the way, you're just growing. That's completely normal. And just don't be too hard on yourself because that's going to make things even more difficult. Before we end off this episode, I do want to remind you guys that your thoughts really do shape your choices. And you don't need certainty to move forward, you just need willingness. I also want to encourage a reflection that you guys can have before we end off today. I want you to ask yourself which areas of your life are being held back by pessimism. And I think this might give you a step forward into the growing process as you rewire your thoughts. And I think it really will help when it comes to finding out the specific areas of your life that may need some extra work when it comes to mindset. So that does wrap up today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening today. Tune in every Thursday to listen or watch on YouTube or Spotify. And for audio only, you can find me on Audible, Amazon Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Make sure to check out the Instagram or the TikTok at findyourpower_podcast and feel free to DM me on either one. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in and listening. I appreciate you all for being here. If you enjoyed, please follow the podcast on Spotify or Apple or subscribe to the YouTube channel if you listen on there. Also, if you enjoyed and you are a loyal listener to Find Your Power, please rate the podcast 5 stars on Spotify or Apple. It really helps the podcast grow. And if you guys have a family member or a friend or any loved one in your life that you think could really benefit from this episode, we don't gatekeep here. Please send them this episode or even just the podcast in general. We don't need to do any calling out here. We can be nonchalant with that. And they may thank you later for it. And lastly, if you would like to be featured for an interview, please send me an email at the email linked in the podcast description or shoot me a DM through the Instagram. I will talk to you guys again soon, and don't forget, we will find your power.